This episode of the Off Road Podcast is sponsored by Warren, Medical Gear Outfitters, and Colby Valve.
Off-Road Podcast, episode 357. Ben and Aaron go camping.
Tonight, Aaron does some training, Jeremy enjoys some casserole, and Ben plays in a bunker.
Welcome to the Off-Road Podcast, the podcast about everything off-road. We cover the news, review products, and interview people in the off-road industry. Your hosts tonight are Aaron, and my name is Ben, and welcome to the show.
The Weekend Review is brought to you by Medical Gear Outfitters. What are you waiting for? Are you waiting to have a casualty on the trail? Check out medicalgearoutfitters.com to get straightened out. Medical Gear Outfitters has everything you need, whether you're going out for the day or traveling on a year-long expedition. Head over there to get off-road specific kits that meet all of your needs. And while you're there, make sure you use Off-Road Podcast for 10% off.
Can you guess how many times I used my first aid kit this weekend?
7.
Not quite that many, but
Okay.
enough that I need to go and get a refill of some supplies.
So I've got mine right here because I'm going to talk about it too. So as you may have saw last week, I was on vacation, took the family to Disneyland. I'm not sure why I just forgot where I went for a minute. You'd think that I'd remember Disneyland. And I brought this in the park, so it went on my plane with me, and it went in the park with me, and I had no issues whatsoever. And I say that because inside of it is the old scissors, the medical shears, and I used mine as well in the park. So here we go. I used the scissors actually at the park. My son bought he didn't buy it. We bought it for him, but he wanted these Black Panther gloves with retractable claws, and I had to cut them out of the packaging. So that was really handy for that. But honestly, beyond that, I used some medication. Sarah, oops, I'm dropping stuff. I used some medication out of here several times. So this has got Advil, it's got Tums, it's got a tick key. I didn't need the tick key, thankfully.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used medications out of maybe they're not medications, but I used some drugs out of here to help me last weekend, and I was happy to have them.
Yeah, I've used the antacid out of them this weekend myself.
There you go. And actually, I wanted to mention that so we got these from Medical Gear Outfitters. You guys obviously just saw the plug for them. They sponsor us. Skinny Medic is the guy who runs them. He's got a YouTube channel. He also does a podcast on our network. If you haven't checked him out, I don't know if we've ever mentioned it, or maybe we have when we've had him on our show, but He does a show called Medical Gear Outfitters. Great show. You can learn a whole lot. You can learn how to use what's in these things. And he's doing his first ever live stream this week, I think tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern. So if you know how to do that math, that witchcraft math on time zones, check him out.
Yeah, it's definitely worth. And they fired Sean, and they hired Sam, who's Prep Medic on YouTube.
Yeah, I enjoy listening to Prep Medic on there. Not that I didn't enjoy Sean, because Sean was really good at driving the conversation and asking really good questions. Prep Medic adds a different level to the show where he talks and they pretend like they hate each other, but I bet you they kiss after the show. But they pretend like there's some internet rivalry between them. So
I think it's a very good, healthy rivalry. I mean,
yes.
when you have other people in the industry or the same field as you, podcast or whatever, it helps you improve your show. We've done that here with our show. We've strived to improve. So
yeah. Well, Ben, you said you used yours. You weren't at Disneyland with me, so where were you?
So I went camping this last weekend, which we're gonna cover with my sons. But I'll talk more about that in the main topic.
Okay.
But I also got another 3D printer. Um,
3D printer go Bert?
no, I got a resin 3D printer.
Okay. Does that
Which
mean you make bongs with it? I don't even know what that does.
so it uses UV resin.
I'm just kidding. I know you don't make bongs with it.
No, not yet. That'd be bad to smoke out of.
I think it would be disgusting. Yeah.
I mean, the stuff on its own is really toxic and smelly and bad for your lungs.
Yeah.
So like it can't sit at the kitchen table like my other one can. This one has to sit in the garage. But I've actually made progress in my garage. That's been the other thing. I mention
I heard last week you got a dumpster and you actually shared a picture of it. So you're throwing stuff away. You're
oh
getting
dude,
rid of stuff?
I've got that dumpster probably about half full right now.
Nice.
I've
How long until you got to return it?
so I have it technically for a full month, but I can return it.
You can return it early.
I can return it early and get money back. It's like $3.50 a day is what they budget. And
I see.
I have it for a month. But I'm probably gonna wrap up in the next 2 weeks or the next week because I don't have any other things planned. Like this camping trip I had going on was planned well before the dumpster, and then the weather was really crappy, so it was hard to go outside and work in the rain when I don't have to do that anymore. So I don't want to do it anymore.
Gotcha.
And so it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna. But I've been working in the garage. I got my toolboxes about where I want them. I think I'm gonna move my desk again, because after my dad passed away, I got another toolbox. It's sitting at my mom's, and it's got to come find a spot in the garage. And I think where my table is right now is where it's gonna be. So I'm just rearranging stuff and getting rid of stuff. I pulled out half my garage, so it's almost done.
Nice.
But yeah, so I got this resin 3D printer. I've been playing with it, mostly making like D&D miniatures and silly little things. Nothing too much. I'm still trying to figure out. It's a little different than FDM printing, so I'm playing with it. Other than that, it's just been cleaning and working. So yeah. What about you?
Well, so yeah, I went to Disneyland for a week, so I was gone for a week and started my new job today. Technically, haven't worked yet. Technically, today was like the pee in the cup day and fill out all the paperwork, and they had me prove that I knew how to drive scissor lift and like a boom lift and things like that. So just some orientation stuff. So tomorrow I start. I actually got to get up really early. The job they assigned me to is over an hour from my house.
Ooh.
And you have to drive to the job and you start at the job. So I got to leave real early tomorrow morning. So tomorrow's going to be an early day. I got sick last week too, coming home from California. Someone told me to blame it on the liberals of California, but it was actually my daughter got me sick. And so went through a cold/flu, then back to a cold again, but getting better. And I got better just in time. I had a training event Saturday that I put on. So and I'll talk about that a little bit more in the main topic as well, because that's what we're talking about this week. We're talking about Ben and Aaron going camping, not together this time. I don't know about you, but I didn't hear any owls with bronchitis.
Nope. No owls with bronchitis, but I did share that story.
Excellent. So yeah, so I went camping. I went did this training, which was a shooting training, and then went camping and tried out some new gear and had a good time and enjoyed a campfire. And then Saturday was my birthday, and so last night after we got back from camping, it just sat around a campfire at the house and had some cake with my family and relaxed last night. So it's a good
Nothing
time.
better than sitting around and having cake with the family on your birthday.
Man, yeah, yes. My only problem is last fall I was running really low on firewood, and the trees I cut down weren't dry in time for us to use them. So I had to import some wood from my mother-in-law's house. She got a new furnace and she's not burning wood very much anymore. So she gave us a couple pickup beds of wood. And I don't know what this wood is, but it just smolders. And it's the same way in the wood stove, it's the same way in a campfire, same way in a fire pit. It just smolders, it stinks, it smokes. It's a real bummer of a wood. It doesn't burn nice and hot. I don't know what it is. It's a hardwood, but it
What color
splits.
is it?
It's really pale white. It doesn't split, and you'd think I would know wood because I've been in wood for 20 years, but it splits terrible. Like you can't, like on a nice piece of Doug fir, you can make matchstick kindling. You can make slivers with an axe with it, but this stuff just like chunks and everything. Like it's clearly dry wood and everything, but I don't know. So it's a bummer. Eric asks if I skipped any really cool EV driving this year too, and no, I didn't get invited. I didn't get invited to do any cool EV driving this year, which is a bummer. Yeah, and Rick says, did any Jeeps catch on fire? No Jeeps caught on fire at my camp trip, so I don't know about you, Ben.
No, none.
There was a Jeep at my camp trip. I'm pretty sure it was a TJ, the last year of the TJ that he was there. So, yep, that's what we did.
Nice.
We also want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Patch. Head over to patriotpatch.co and check out their selection of great patches, shirts, cleaning mats, signs, and stickers. You can also join the Patch of the Month Club for $15 and receive a patch, matching sticker, and artist proof each month. Yeah, Eric, upcycled railroad ties would probably burn pretty well. And actually, I don't think I've ever burned a railroad tie, but I would imagine with the creosote that maybe it would burn good, but it'd also stink and be really smoky. So
and be really bad for you. Ouch.
well, yeah. You got to
don't
stay upwind, no downwind. You got to stay out of the smoke.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, let's real quick. Patriot Patch's patch of the month is this Danger Ranger with a bunch of fireworks on it. We talked about it last couple of weeks, but I want to give an update on our patch for the listeners that are excited about that. We got proof agreed upon, and sounds like they have the, I don't know if they have the molds ready or anything like that, but they've got the 3-dimensional like CAD drawing files for it. So it's super excited about that. And it is going to be glow in the dark. So Coy, thank you for that suggestion. It was a really good idea. Terrible oversight on our part. And so what we're talking about, if you didn't know before, we're working on like a rocker switch. So it's going to be really neat. And then we're also doing our off-road podcast logo. So we're going to have a couple patches available. And I was thinking, I haven't really talked to you about this, Ben, but if with this rocker switch idea sells really well, we should make some other really fake ones. We could do like an ejector seat rocker switch patch would be fun. You could put that on.
Yep.
Yeah, we could make just a row. You could have a switch panel of rocker switch patches on your headliner. I think this might be fun. It's a good idea.
Yep. I think it's gonna be fun if we go.
If you got any idea for rocker switches, hit us up. Let us know. Maybe if your idea is selected, well, maybe. I would definitely send you a free patch if we chose your idea, if it was a good one. So
definitely, most definitely,
inundate us with ideas.
Please do.
Have tire troubles ever left you deflated? Colby Valve has got you covered. Ever have a valve stem leak? Colby Valve makes reusable and easily replaceable valve stems that don't require you to remove your tire from the wheel. They work with your off-road rig, ATV, side-by-side, commuter vehicle, or even your tractor. Never be left stranded again because of a busted valve stem. They also have a tire repair kit for those punctures that keep you away from doing your favorite thing, wheeling. Make sure to check out colbyvalve.com or ask for them at your local off-road products store.
You know, we talked about Jeremy eating casserole, and he's not here. We didn't even talk about why he was eating casserole.
Yeah. Should we tell him all? He's got
absolutely.
He's got the food poisoning from a casserole.
Yeah.
So he's down and out.
Yep, down and out, food poisoning. And I can totally sympathize with Jeremy. There was like a 5-year stretch in my life that I got the food poisonings many, many times from poor life choices. Um, one time my refrigerator broke down. So I tried to eat all the food in it as quick as I was poor, right? I cooked it up, but
I mean,
apparently I didn't cook it well enough.
you don't want to waste food. I always
No,
know
not when you're
that.
not when you're poor. And another time, grandma came up to visit us for Easter and she made deviled eggs, but she stopped to see the tall ships that came to town in Portland. Sorry, in Tacoma. And the deviled eggs were on a platter that was too big to fit in a cooler. So she just left them in her trunk.
Oh, that's dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. No one else got sick because apparently nobody else eats 10 deviled eggs like I do. So
Uh,
Nick says street tacos. I don't know if he's talking about a rocker switch patch or a way to get food poisoning, but that was one of the way I did get food poisoning was the food in my freezer that was defrosting was some Jose Ole mini tacos. And yeah, I just undercooked them. I wouldn't think you could get sick because I thought they were completely cooked anyways. You should be able to eat them frozen and not get sick. But yeah, I got real sick. And another time was from a church potluck, and almost everybody in the church got sick on that one. So yeah.
Oh, just to jump back a bit, do we want to share a picture of the locker rocker?
We have in the past. Did you upload a yeah, let's get it next week. It's all right.
All right, we'll do it next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been in that spot with food poisoning like Jeremy has. Actually, my wife and I, while she was pregnant, got food poisoning, and we had Henry as a baby. Not fun.
Yeah. Not good. So yeah, food poisoning, and some people get what they call the stomach flu, and some people claim the stomach flu isn't a thing or that food poisoning. I don't know, but whatever the case is, it's coming out both ends and it hurts, and you're down for the count. Like, one of the times my wife had to drive me to the doctor's office and they gave me like anti-nausea medicine because it was like so bad. So
Yeah.
yeah, we feel for you, Jeremy. I will make fun of you, but we feel for you also.
Yep. Ooh, so one thing about Colby valve, I was looking at my wheels this week,
Uh-huh.
and I've got Colby valves on them. All
Yeah.
they're the
Like,
regular
the-
size on my beadlocks.
The long not they're not called long term. What are the black ones?
The permanent ones.
Permanent. Yeah, permanent. Yeah.
Yeah, the permanent. What do they call the black ones? I can't remember right now. I'm feeling really bad, but the I was looking at them. They're never gonna get damaged because they sit so recessed into my wheels.
Yeah.
It will never happen. I'm like, well,
And they're really low profile too, aren't they?
the black ones are not a low profile one.
Are the
They're-
newer ones the low profile?
They have the permanent ones. They
Yeah.
have sizes. But the black ones only come in the long size.
There we go. The Onyx.
Yes, the Onyx. There we go. So the permanent tire valves and then the ultimates are the extra shorts. And I would not be able to use those in my wheels.
The Ultimates.
Yeah, they're just too recessed in. There's like barely enough to get my tire chuck on.
Yeah.
So that's a good problem to have.
Rick's in the comments here, like salivating to see the. Yeah, he wants to see the picture. Maybe he wasn't tuned in, so yeah, go ahead and show it off there, Ben. We'll let it slide this time. So
All right.
there is the Lumen Locker, Rick, the Lumen Locker, in all its glory, and it is going to be a 3-dimensional PVC Velcro patch with everything that you see that's white on the screen is going to be glow in the dark, and you'll just have to pretend that it rocks because it won't have actual rocking to it. So you just pretend that it rocks when you turn it on inside of your rig. So,
yep. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Why don't we get into the news? Shall we get into the news?
Yeah. So our first one is from the TFL, the Fast Lane. And I think it's TFL Truck or whatever. They've got their truck section of them, but whatever the case is, they oh, hang on a second. Nick says, I just used my emergency Colby valve today on my lawnmower. End up switching the other side out too, as they are nice and orange. Sweet. That's awesome.
There we
That's
go.
great to hear that that they're getting used out there. And I love that. I mean, people just use their off-road equipment, their recovery equipment for stuff that doesn't have to be while you're out there wheeling. You can use it for everyday things. So
It's a
Yep.
lifestyle, man.
yeah. So the TFL, this article, I titled it "The Body on Frame SUV We Aren't Getting," and I said that because a body on frame SUV is going to be a much more capable SUV off-roading than a unibody SUV for the most part.
99% of the time.
Yeah. Clearly the XJ Cherokee does a good job wheeling and things like that. But people have to stiffen the frame on it because the windows pop open or pop out while you're driving, or won't close if you're in a funny position while you're wheeling, things like that. But that frame adds rigidity and makes it tougher for off-roading. So everywhere else in the world, Ford produces something called the Ford Everest, and it's based on the Ford Ranger platform from around the world. Now we get that Ford Ranger here in the US. That Ford introduced that Ranger quite a few years ago. And the Bronco is actually based off the Ranger platform as well. I don't know how loosely the Bronco is based off of it, but same platform. This is the Everest SUV. So it's not a huge SUV, but if you think about the size of a Bronco is off the same chassis, this could be as big as a Bronco.
Yeah,
But,
it reminds me of like a Ford Explorer, but what the Explorer should be.
what the 100% what the Explorer should be. Yeah. Yeah, I love that, Ben. That's great. Here, keep that up on the screen while we talk. So the Ford Everest, it's in a lot of countries, just not ours. It's based off the Ford Ranger platform. In all the other countries, it has an inline 4 and V6 turbo diesel engines, which everybody loves those turbo diesels. And then they also have an inline 4 gas version for it. There's going to be 5 trim levels for it, including an off-road trim level called the Trend. I don't know why it's called the Trend. That's kind of odd. And it's going to be 2 inches wider than the outgoing model, which gives it some more stability when you're off-road and doing highway maneuvers and things like that. So we don't have a lot of information on it. There isn't any like talk about suspension stuff. Obviously, it's going to be IFS up front. My guess is it's still going to have a solid axle in the rear. They have a rear-wheel drive version and 2 four-wheel drive versions. So that also tells you that this is like a truck. The engines go in there longitudinally. So it's not a front-wheel drive crossover type SUV. This is a legit SUV. It sends power to the rear. It's going to have a transfer case. 2 four-wheel drive versions. It didn't get into the details about that. So it's a bummer we don't get it here. It probably doesn't get good enough fuel economy. That's why you got to have them crossover businesses. So, yeah.
It definitely looks nice. Like I could really run
That
with
looks like
one.
a Subaru from the back right there, I got to say,
It
though.
does. But I mean, you look at it from the front, it does look nice. It's something I wouldn't
Yeah.
mind driving as like a daily.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then it really has that potential to be upgraded to an off-road to get some really nice performance. Obviously, like those running boards got to come out.
Run
But
board's got to go.
it does look it has an intercooler just below that license plate, so
Yeah.
it's probably gonna get a fat lip for a winch, but still,
Yes.
it will be terrible.
Every engine choice has a turbo. So if every engine choice has a turbo, they probably all have intercoolers. So whether it's diesel or gas, they're all turbo models. So it might make it tough to get a winch bumper on there. In fact, it looks like that whole front end is a bumper. So
Mhm.
that actually was going to make it a little, well, maybe not too tricky, but they'll have to get tricky with it. But I've seen some pretty sweet bumpers in the overseas arenas for trucks that look like that, where they're all plated out and
Oh,
they
yeah.
do a good job making them look nice. So, like I said, we don't have a lot of information on the Everest. Little jealous we don't get it here. I think that with the popularity of the Ranger and definitely the popularity of the Bronco, what you could see someone doing with this is making a Raptor Everest, a Ford Everest Raptor. So bolting on parts from the Ranger or from the Bronco or both, a mixture of some. Dude, it would be that would be a sweet SUV with some big old box flares on it and a long travel suspension.
Yeah.
So,
And one of the things we didn't talk about is the interior, which they show in here. It's got like one of those 12-inch touchscreens and all that, so less buttons. It's a nice interior. Not so much my jazz, but I like it.
yeah.
It could make a very awesome Raptor vehicle.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. Well, but let's talk about something that Ford is going to bring to the US, and I am surprised about this one. So, if you get a chance to pull up the picture for this one, Ford is bringing the Transit Trail Edition to the US. So, we've got the Ford Transit here. I'm sure everybody's seen them. You see people building some overland builds with them, or some camper vans, or some van life vans, I should say. People are making them, and they're an all right choice. It's a big tall van like the man, I'm forgetting it, the Sprinter van. It's big tall like the Sprinter van, and I think they look pretty good. But so Ford is done the trademark for it earlier this year. There we go. It's up on the screen so you can see it. That's the UK version. There is zero details about it for the US, but the rumor is that I guess I said they are bringing it. There's a rumor it's coming. So it's taken a while because the UK version only, the Trail Edition only comes with a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo diesel that makes 128 horsepower, 266 foot-pounds of torque. That's not going to be enough for us US folk.
No. I mean, it'll be nice for those van lifers though.
And it only comes with it only came with a 6-speed transmission that was front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. The US versions of this van come with the 3-liter V6 that's put out a lot more horsepower. I'm sorry, a 3.5-liter V6 or a 3.6-liter V6. I didn't know. That's weird. I didn't know Ford did a 3.6-liter. I knew they did a 3.5. I'm going to have to look into that. But one has a little bit more horsepower than the other. The higher horsepower is 310 horse, 400 foot-pounds of torque. That's more like it. That's what I'm talking about. They're both twin turbo V6 EcoBoost engines. They send the power to the rear with a 10-speed transmission. Basically, this is like an F-150 with a van, if you could think about that. They're either rear-wheel drive or they're going to be all-wheel drive in the US. So that makes it a little bit more difficult because Ford's got to figure out how to do the all-wheel drive packaging, or if they're going to do 4-wheel drive with them here in the US. Do they do lockers or limited slip? Because the one over in the UK has a limited slip in the front axle. Yeah, it's not much is out about it once again. But I wanted to mention what the UK version has. So the UK version has 16-inch wheels, which are kind of small for the US market. We like big wheels for some reason. So 16-inch wheels with fender flares, a Raptor-like front grille, which I love that grille. It does remind me of Raptor. Skid plate, slightly higher ride height. It doesn't say how much higher. And then it says quick clear heated windshield. So I find that kind of interesting. Usually heated windshields are only at the bottom. So I don't know if the entire thing is heated or what, if it's got some crazy defrost to it.
It might have something around the edges too to kind of just help the whole thing warm up a lot quicker than with like the lower one that prevents the wiper blades from freezing to the windshield.
Yeah. So it mentions that it came with leather upholstery, and it had slippery and mud and rut driving modes for the all-wheel drive trim. So we'll see what Ford does with it, but I'm excited. I think that there's definitely space in this market for probably not a Raptor version because I think they're too tall. I think people are going to be tipping them over, but yeah.
Well, I mean, the van lifers that really want that all-terrain, that want to go out in the snow, that type of thing, I think that's really going to fit that market very well. I could see Amazon Prime using them for some of their more rural deliveries.
Yeah, maybe, especially when they're required to follow their GPS down these goat trails that we keep sharing stories about.
Yeah.
So Eric says he highly doubts they do lockers, maybe a limited slip. Ford has been dumping lockers and everything, so
I could see a rear locker. I really
I could see a rear e-locker in it for sure. And Ford also does limited slips a lot too, so it could go both ways. But if they're doing a trail edition, I really feel like Ford would probably throw a locker in it.
Yeah.
I'd be sad if they didn't. So
It'd be disappointing. Not the
yeah.
first Ford's disappointed me though.
Yeah.
Go prepared with Warren Industries. They produced the first recreational winch in 1959 and lead the industry with their dedication to quality and reliability. When you dig yourself in deep, make sure you have the right tools to get yourself out. Get Warren equipped and go where others can't. Now, let's get ready for adventure and head into our main topic.
Oh, that's still up on the screen. Let me fix that.
There we go.
So should I start this out or do you want to start it out?
Why don't you go ahead? I'll let you have a.
All right. So this last weekend I went my sons do Trail Life USA. It's like Boy Scouts but better in my opinion. And we do what we call family camp. So we co-op with American Heritage Girls. It's like Girl Scouts, but they're not about selling cookies. They're actually about outdoor skills and life skills. So
I love that.
very, very awesome. And the cool thing with being co-opted is instead of having to split up your family on a night to figure out where one kid's going and where another's going, we're together in the same building, but we also are split so that the boys are doing boy stuff, girls are doing on whatever they're doing. And it's really fun. And at family camp, we all go camp as one big family. We share meals. So we camped at Fort Flagler. It's one of the three corners of the Triangle of Death. You may have heard of Fort Worden and Fort Casey, I think, is the other one. And they were the air defense for Bremerton or Gig Harbor, one of the naval bases here in the Pacific Northwest. So that's where we went camping this year. But it was really cool because we got a special tour with it. So here's some pictures. Unfortunately, I can't share my pictures because there's pictures of people's kids that aren't mine.
How'd you get a tour? How'd you get special tours?
So they offer tours. They're state park volunteers that they do tours of the facility, and he saw our group when he was driving by, and he came and he's like, "Hey, I see you guys got a really big group. What you guys got going on?" We explained to him, and he's like, "Well, I'll offer you guys this special tour. I'm doing a tour at 4:00, and you'll see some parts of the park that are normally locked off to the public, not for
nice.
safety, but just because they don't want to leave it wide open." Like they have a powerhouse that you can get into if there's a volunteer there to let you in and show you. It's also a spot that the state park rents out if you ever want to use it. Same with most of the buildings there. But it's like old concrete buildings and gun turrets and stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool. I used to go to one of these when I was.
I thought that was Velma from Scooby Doo in that last picture you shared. Right
Oh,
there.
yeah. Oh, Reggie. So yeah, we went and we got do a cool tour of that. While we were on that tour, I almost got into a fist fight with a guy driving a Honda Fiat. Um,
A Honda what?
a Honda Fit.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So we were and this is like towards the start of our tour. We were instructed to be on the right side of the road. If there's a vehicle that's coming down the road, we move off to the side. And our tour guide was in he's ADA. He's disabled. He's got so he can't walk a lot. So he drives around a little side by side. And so he would get out of he'd pull his side by side over and then wave them through after we had moved over. Well, he'd gotten out of his side by side and the dude flew by him about 30 miles an hour.
Good night.
The speed limit in the park is 15 miles per hour. So dude's going twice the speed limit. And it's like, oh, wow, that guy's a little reckless. And he's like, I'm going to have to talk to him when I see him up there. And we go on, continue with our tour. We get down probably about a mile down the road. And the guy's there and we're walking past him and he starts backing up. Right where I am at the time, actually, and my youngest son, who's 5. I grab my son, pull him out of the way, and he's still continuing to back up. And one of our members, because there's a couple other kids there, like smacks his window, like, hey, there's people back here. You need to stop. And the dude like opens his door and starts getting irate, and he's probably about 70.
The dude in the car or the
dude in the car, yeah. And I'm like, hey, dude, you almost hit my kid. You need to like hold on. There's people walking here. And I don't give up. And yes.
Whoa.
And that was my child, so I got very upset. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, you know. And I like started yelling at him. And all the kids there were like, Mr. Ben, I've never heard you talk like that. And then the volunteer came over and was like, sir, you need to, you almost hit someone. You really need to watch what you're doing. I'm going to have to report you if you don't. I don't give a, and he backed out.
No way.
Cleared everyone. He did almost hit one of my other adults who was with us. And then he sped off. And so later on, I got to have a nice talk with the park ranger, and they're going to be filing charges against this gentleman.
So I don't know if you know this, but like if you get pulled over by park police, park rangers, it's a federal ticket. It's not a state or county or city ticket. It's federal. I have a friend who got pulled over up in Washington outside of Port Angeles near Lake Crescent for speeding. And he's like, there was no way out of that ticket. I just have to pay that ticket. There's no fighting the ticket. There's no going to court to take care of the ticket. You're just screwed.
Yeah. So the park ranger said he's filing 5 charges against the guy.
Good.
One of them's including
5 charges.
5 charges.
Wow.
One of them's including reckless driving.
Good.
So yeah, that was very exciting. The children got to see another side of Mr. Ben that they don't get to see. They all call me Mr. Ben because I'm like, no, Mr. Allreed.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's yeah, it was pretty interesting. I got pretty heated. It's like, hey, like we have the right of way. We're trying to get out of the way as quickly as possible. and we were 3/4 of the way through because I was
Yeah.
walking towards the back of the group to make sure that no stragglers, like my 5-year-old,
Mhm.
disappeared. Well, he almost disappeared under the guy's bumper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric says, "Can't you write a very pointed letter to the president?" That doesn't really work for federal stuff. And
No, he
Nope.
could technically go to court to fight this because the park
Yeah.
ranger wasn't there. And that's
Mhm.
fine. I'll show up to court and he's gonna have to deal with an angry dad.
Yeah.
And I've got 50 witnesses because there's a group of 50 of us. So that it's more less of a he said she said thing when there's 50 of you.
Hmm.
So yeah. But so this weekend we were working on some badge skills. So did some navigation with some map and compasses. Actually, I wasn't in charge of that. But one of the guys was. I actually did tarp shelters, lashings, and lashings like building structures with wood and rope. Lots of the oh now I'm brain farting on that knot. It's a hitch. Can't think of it now. Oh well. And then we did another hike outside of that. So yeah. And I slept in my Gazelle. Worked great as always. I love that tent. And then the last night I told some stories around the campfire. I did some I started off with some scary stories. I did the murderer behind Clove Hitch. Thank you, Rick. That's the one.
Wants to know if you did any ditch navigation.
No, but we talked about counting your pace and all that, and I showed the kids how to measure their pace, and I had them all walk in a line and to see, all right, stop when you think you've hit 10 meters,
Hmm.
and it was funny to see some of the differences.
Yeah.
But but they learn.
Even with adults, it's not just kids. I want to emphasize that just
Oh, yeah.
because you become an adult doesn't know that you know how to pace something off.
Yeah, so I explained to them about consistency with it and all that, and like, hey, it's really hard to count in your head. We made ranger beads. If you're familiar with ranger beads, it's like a abacus on rope with beads. So yeah,
Mhm.
we it was hilarious. Oh yeah, scary stories. So we did the murder with the headlight one where you talk about you're driving down the road, dude's behind you flashing his lights, cops pull him at it, you pull in your driveway, cops pull him out and then shoot the guy, shoot at the lady who is, and it's the murderers behind her. And then the yellow ribbon. Have you ever heard that one?
I'm not sure if I heard the yellow ribbon one.
So it's a girl and a boy. They're friends. She wears her yellow ribbon around her neck, and he asks her why she never takes it off. She says, "I can't tell you." And it kind of that story continues. They date in school or high school. They get married. They have children. They retire. She's on her deathbed, and she says, "Okay, go ahead and remove the ribbon," and her head falls off.
I do remember that one. So, did you have to read a book, or do you just remember all these from being younger?
I remember them all from being younger.
Okay. Maybe I didn't hear them enough as a kid because you've mentioned both of those two, and I had no idea ahead of time. But as you told them, I have a vague remembrance of those. So
Yeah, that was a lot of the adults, and then a few other kids tried to tell stories, including my son, and it didn't really work out for him. And they're like, "Oh, you should hear about how my dad broke his Forerunner," and so I was, oh, I shared a Bigfoot story that I've made up
yeah.
to the kids about out looking for someone, and Bigfoot throws a log and misses my head, and I hop in my Forerunner and drive away. That was another good one. That really got them going because they were a little worried about Bigfoots.
Gotcha. Well, I gotta say, I'm jealous of your troop or whatever you do call the group of kids that you help lead. I want my son to be in something like that. I'm not interested in the Boy Scouts anymore. I'd like something a little more church based for my kid. Um, and not that the Boy Scouts was bad, but I haven't looked
It's
into it. But I fear about what it has become, and I
it's
say that
changed
naively
a lot.
because I haven't looked into it. But
I have looked into it, and it's changed a
yeah,
lot since I was a Boy Scout. I reached life. I'm a lifer, is what you call it. It's
yeah,
the step before an Eagle Scout. Um, they changed some policies on gun-related activity after Sandy Hook. Like you can't do Nerf guns anymore. There was a story that they talked about on This Week in Guns a long time ago,
mm,
back when Jake was hosting it.
yeah.
Um,
Oh,
and
so
just some
Eric
changed.
says does Awana do outdoor stuff? I don't know how much they do, but from what I understand, Trail Life is like a cross between Awana and Boy Scouts. Awana, I want to say, is more like just after school, maybe not after school, but it's just like an at the church group that hangs out and they
Yeah.
memorize Bible verses and do church type things. I don't
So
think it's necessarily camping or skills related.
Trail Life USA is their main goal is fathers and son getting closer to Christ through the outdoors.
Hmm.
They have Eagle Scout equivalent, lots of equivalents to the Boy Scouts. It reminds me of Boy Scouts when I was a kid. And that's
Yeah.
why I really liked it. And then like they have badges for shooting, hunting, archery, um, and they're not even badges for my boys. They're not badges. They're actually they get a walking stick. Um, well, it's called a standard, and it has pins like the hiking pins you can get that you hammer
Yeah.
it, and that's what you use for your badges. So that's something that's going to last
Mm.
a lot longer for your life. It's a national organization at that, but it's gonna it you as you grow older, it's not like you're gonna stop using a walking stick if you're out hiking, right?
Possibly not.
I have a walking stick. It's a collapsible one, but I carry it around. So I don't know. It's fun. But
Tim, we can get back to you on that one. Let's finish. How about we can talk about that halfway between our main
so
topic when we transition.
yeah.
I'm real quick. I'm looking up Trail Life USA. I wonder if they have like an easy way to search for chapters in your area or something.
They do.
Okay.
I can actually send you a link for that here in a little bit. Outside
Well,
of that,
I typed it in my phone, but it's just really slow here. I don't
oh
know
yeah.
what's going on with the internet tonight.
Outside of that, that was kind of the weekend. We did shared meals. Like all the food was bought, and we just had to sign up for kitchen duty. And I cooked breakfast that last morning. And actually, I would say a flat top griddle is amazing. I've cooked steak on mine, and we actually used it for camping. We did eggs, bacon, sausage, and all that. So yeah. And then we packed up on Sunday and headed out, and I had a beautiful drive home, driving through the peninsula. I actually almost called Rick, but I'd seen he'd been out on a boat, and so I wasn't sure whether or not he'd be home. So I was like, I'll save it for another day. And then yeah, I came home and unpacked or partially unpacked. It was a nice, beautiful weekend too.
I just got a message from someone listening in who apparently wants to remain anonymous, but he says St. John's and Mac, so that must be a church. St. John's and Mac has Trail Life. I don't know how big it is or if it's still going. He has someone that used to go to that church. So Rick says he's digging the Sea Scouts. He spent the weekend on board the Triple S Osprey. So, Rick? I didn't know that you were doing something with Sea Scouts. That's pretty neat. Yeah.
My cousin did Sea Scouts.
My grandpa and his brothers did Sea Scouts like back in the day. So, yeah. Well, when I get good enough internet on my phone, apparently, I got an AweSnap message here. I will see if I can find something in my area on Trail Life. I was going to, honestly, I was going to try to start one at my church, but I am so busy. I just don't think I can pick that up and try to run with it.
So
Yeah.
a little backstory with my current troop. I picked up so I joined a troop when my son turned 5, and that troop during COVID we tried to move churches, and
Mhm.
it's harder, so we had to restart it. And I got nominated. I got voluntold that I am the leader this year. I was the
Yeah.
assistant the year before because our current one or our previous one left, and so yeah, I've been leading it. I'm in charge of people's children, which is scary.
Well, we'll have to talk offline, and I'm curious how it works and stuff like that. I would like to get my son involved with that, and it's another way to meet usually good people in your area. So
I've met I've made some really good friends through the program.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the guys, he drives a Nissan Pathfinder, listens to our show. He asked me at one of the meetings, like, "Hey, do you do the off-road podcast?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Huh,
He's
that's
like,
awesome.
I thought you sounded familiar.
That's interesting.
So yeah.
Rick says he's the captain of the Odyssey. It's a 90-foot ship, so pretty neat. Tim says he can't be that good of a guy if he drives a Nissan. Spoiler alert. I don't know if Tim has been on the show since I was off the show. He did mention that he wasn't on last week, so maybe this isn't news to anybody else yet, but Tim, Mr. Jeep, is looking at a Frontier.
Oh, what?
Yeah. I am hearing more and more people looking at Xteras and Frontiers. I don't know if it's just because the cost of Toyota stuff is just pushing it out of everybody's price range, and Nissans are. He says maybe looking at Frontiers. We know he's looking at Frontiers. He joined 25 different Facebook groups. I had to approve all of his approvals in all the groups. So
that Toyota tax is really hard.
yeah, it
Um,
is. And
and
it's the reason why I bought a Nissan.
So while we were debating my egg gasket, my wife and I actually looked at building a 2022 Nissan Frontier, because then I could go for a truck, which truck stuff is handy sometimes. And then the cost was significantly less. Like, I could have a fully Pro 4X with all the bells and whistles, and it was like half the cost of a Toyota Tacoma.
Yeah. And I think it's Cody from Trail Chasers runs a Frontier as well. So
Nice.
anyways, well, that's about enough of you, Ben. I'm tired of listening about you. I want to talk about myself now.
Okay, go for it.
Do what I do best. Nick says, can Nissan wake up and make a new Xterra /Patrol? They're missing out on so much money. And I totally agree. There's such a huge demand for that Xterra. I really hope that they do bring something to market.
They're really missing the market. And it's kind of like Kia missing out on the market when they say, oh, we're giving it a lift of 0.4 inches.
Apparently I've got this wrong. Cody is the only one who doesn't have a Frontier on the show. I haven't listened to that show in a long time. But yeah, that's embarrassing. Anyway, so yeah, let's talk about me. I went out Saturday morning and I taught a firearms, like a intro to pistol and rifle class. So I figured now's a good time to start talking about this. I've hinted at it a little bit in the past, but I created with a couple good friends of mine a group of guys, I should just say guys. There's guys and gals in this group. So um, a couple years ago, like when the world was ending, or everybody thought the world was ending, I thought I need to meet some people. I need some locals in my area, and not the hot girls that you get in the advertisements. I wanted some skilled people in my corner. So the only thing I think of was militias. Militias can be pretty toxic, and I didn't find anything out there that was good. So I made some friends. We created a group, and also militias seem to only do one thing. They train guns, gun training, training guns, sleeping in the woods, face paint guns, um, that kind of stuff. And because of that, I think that they've got I think they just have a bad rap. People like to look bad on militias, so that's another reason. So, created a group about readiness and preparedness. Some people might call it a prepper group, but it's we call ourselves the Oregon Readiness Group, and the idea behind us is to prepare for any type of emergency, whether it's a wildfire. I know we talked a couple years ago about a wildfire coming really close to my house, like within, I believe it was within 4 miles of my house. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but with the way it was moving and how dry things were, I was asked to, I was in the get ready stage, the second stage. So, or the get set, I can't remember, but I was in stage 2 of 3 for evacuating my house. So we get together monthly, and we talk about preparedness in the sense of food preservation or bushcraft. So a lot of the stuff you're teaching your kids this weekend, Ben, would have made a great adult class if you leveled it up. We obviously, firearms are definitely a part of it. Camping, building a bug out bag or a get home bag or a go bag, first aid training, medical training, things like that. So that's what this group is all about, Oregon Readiness Group. And if you're from the area that I'm in or close enough and you're interested, hit me up. We can talk about it. We want to grow and expand and get more people on board, and like-minded people who care about being prepared for emergencies, whether, like I said, whether it's a forest fire or a tsunami on the coast or an earthquake, something erupting, whether the eruption comes from a mountain or some riots in Portland. We want to be ready for it. So that's kind of the backstory of this. So I did an intro to firearms kind of training where we talked about shooting pistols, how to hold it properly, how to reload, types of malfunctions, clearing malfunctions, and then the same thing for rifles. We had a good time on Saturday, and then after our trainings, we usually have a camp event. So I was blessed to borrow a swag from I got to pull up the picture here. So from Ironman 4x4, I borrowed a swag. Here's a picture of it set up at the camp that we're at. And actually, you can see in the background one of the other guys' tents. He's got a hot tent. You can see the smoke stack coming out of it. But yeah, I gotta borrow a swag and try it out, and I liked it a lot. And Ben, I've been talking about swags for a long time.
Well, I've been right there with you. I've wanted a swag just as bad as you have, and we both have been looking at them. And I'm glad to hear you got to try one. So I want to know,
when you come down, instead of letting you sleep in my house, I'll make you sleep in the swag.
You know what? That would probably be worth trying out, just to try it out.
Yeah. So it sets up super fast. It tears down super fast. There are written instructions inside the tent on how to put up. No pictures. It's just sentences and words. So if you aren't good with English, you'll have to figure it out on your own. And figure it out on your own is stupid easy. So this is their new one. It's called the Ridge Pole swag. And the reason why is because, and I've got the tent flap over it, but there's that horizontal pole that goes between the two hoops that holds it open. The older one didn't have that. It relied on your guy lines to hold it open.
So theoretically, you don't need the guy lines for this
Well, you want the guy lines
for breathing.
because for breathing, because there's, you can see inside of this when you see the zipper on that back wall, that hoop, you can unzip, you could crawl in and out from all four sides on it.
Nice.
So you need to open it up. Because it's my first time, I was a little novice at it. I only opened the vent near my head. I didn't open the vent at my feet. And so I did get condensation inside of it. My bad. So that's a thing. And so in this picture, you see, I have the front of it propped open like an awning. It rained maybe for a half an hour, and they were big drops of rain while we were at camp hanging out, and it was open just like this in that picture. That that rubber shoe bag on the ground was wet about halfway up it. There was zero water on the inside, no water leaked through it. I did tilt one of those legs so that it would drain that awning cover of the water so it wouldn't soak through, but had no issue with water at all. I also I wanted to test to see how warm it was, because it's thick like rooftop tent canvas, and
like gazelle thick or a little in between.
I'd say thicker than gazelle.
Okay, I mean it
Yeah.
looks really dark in there. That's why I ask, because
Yes.
those are orange, so
Yep.
that filters the light a little differently.
Yep. So this is thick canvas, not just like tent material, and because of that, it holds the heat better. And I was warm. I had my regular Coleman sleeping bag, which I think is a 0-degree bag. I'd have to double check that. I think it is a 0-degree bag. It's not really good for 0 degrees at all. In fact, I would probably freeze to death in 30 degrees. And so I had that with a wool blanket over top, and I was fine. I didn't have any long johns on or anything. I slept in shorts and a long sleeve t-shirt and a pair of socks. So totally warm all night long. My biggest thing about the swag, besides it being small, and I say small footprint when it's set up, and easy to throw around, is it comes with like a 3.5-inch or so memory foam type mattress in the bottom of it.
Oh wow, that's pretty thick.
I slept so good on that. That's my biggest struggle camping is whatever mattress thing I'm sleeping on never is good. So I slept really well on it, and I super happy with it. So of course there's going to be cons to everything. This thing is really big. It's bigger than like a microwave when you have it rolled up and stowed in its bag, but it's only like a 12-pound microwave. It doesn't weigh anything. You could put on your roof rack and throw a ratchet strap over and it would suck down. It's not going to go anywhere. It's got a nice bag that it goes into. But yeah, there's a lot of bulk to it. You wouldn't want to have to put this inside of your Suzuki Jimny. You want this on top of your Jimny for sure.
So, how long is it? 'Cause that's always been kind of my concern.
Okay.
For like that single main tent, because I'm 6'4".
Yeah. So I jumped in it. I opened it up at my house to test it out first. So I didn't look like a fool setting it up when I was camping. And I laid in it and was on Facebook, just kind of laying in it, trying it out. My dog I had the flap unzipped, but it was hanging closed. My dog just walks over and like climbs in it with me. Yeah, you could put a Suzuki Jimny in the swag once you got there. Or at least park it outside underneath the awning of the swag. My dog crawled in there. It's definitely the 1-person tents are definitely 1-person tents. You might be able to put like 2 6-year-old kids in there. I definitely wouldn't put 2 10-year-old kids in there.
I
Um,
I remember talking to Bubba about them, and he said that I should go with a double because
I
he's
th-
big like me.
you would probably be fine with a single also, honestly. But a double wouldn't be a bad choice. In fact, I think the double is only like $40 more. Maybe it's $50 more, but for how much it's not quite double the footprint, but it is a lot bigger. So I don't think you would go wrong with a double, honestly. So someone says, how will it do in high wind? I think it would do really good. It came with lots of stakes. That's another thing. The stakes were just the plain Jane round stock ones that have a shepherd hook on the end, but they're really thick. And I really struggled getting them into the ground where this is at because it's tons of rock in the ground around there. In fact, there's been several bent tent stakes in this camping spot, not a single one bent. And I probably took 6 or 7 tries to get a tent stake in the ground. It'd go in a couple inches. And that would be it. I think because of how low this is to the ground and the shape of it, and if you had it staked down, I think it would be do just fine in high wind. And especially the people who are using swags, they throw these on the ground right next to their trucks. So unless you're lifted so much that you get a ton of wind under your truck, I think you'd be doing really good in high wind with one of these. So, the other downside to this is in the morning when I had to get up, the first thing you got to do when you wake up in the morning is pee. So you're in a hurry to get your clothes on, get out of that tent. Because I had condensation in it, there was some water in the top of it, and I'm sitting up so you can see my little lantern in there. I'm sitting right in the center of it. I'm trying to get dressed. It's not tall enough to sit up in at all. So that's a bummer, but that's what you deal with. So,
Trade-offs
I don't
for
think
everything, right?
it's absolutely there's trade-offs for everything. I would be a little leery of trying to pee in a pee bottle in one of these because you can't get yourself up high enough. You may be able to pee in a bottle. I didn't try it. Maybe I should set it back up and do a simulation.
After I tried sleeping in it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, have an alarm go off at 1:00 in the morning and try to pee in a Gatorade bottle. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. So, there you definitely could not put any source of heat in this thing unless it was a diesel heater that was blowing heat into it. I asked on Facebook after I camped in it, and our friend Nathan up in Washington said that he is camped in his one time, and he said it was like 13-degree weather or something like that. And he said he stayed totally warm and all he was in a sleeping bag. So he clearly has a better sleeping bag than I do.
I would think with a proper sleeping bag, like I have a 0-degree bag, and this weekend I brought it because it was going to be in the 40s, and I was like, oh, I'll just leave it unzipped. I was laying on top of our thing. We have a Japanese futon mattress we take camping, so I'm not truly on the ground. I was sleeping on top of that with the sleeping bag just over the top of me. I was so hot.
Yeah. So, the memory foam also kind of insulates you from the ground. I forgot to look to see how cold it got. There was no internet or cell service there, so I definitely couldn't check while I was there, and I forgot to check when I get home, but it got pretty cold that night. Nowhere near freezing, but I bet it was in the low 40s, especially because just behind those trees there is a reservoir about 150 feet away. Sorry, 150 yards away is a reservoir. So you get a lot of cold come up off that water.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was a very chilly night. If I could have, I would have loved to have slid this closer to the campfire and left it open like that, because there's a mesh screen that you could have had zipped closed. So you could have totally taken advantage of campfire heat coming in there and warming you if you could do something like that. Or if it was a warm area, you could leave that thing open just like this again and camp with just the mesh, and it'd keep the dew off, but you would not overheat that way as well. So I can't wait to try this out some more. I only got one night with it. I need to get some more single night trips planned so I can goof around with it some more. It was, like I said, it was super easy to set up and take down. So I liked it.
I'm looking forward to you getting some more time with it and seeing what it's like. I
Yeah.
think with snow camping, with between the memory foam and how small it is, your body heat's really going to retain it.
Yeah. I wish I could have borrowed it earlier, or I hope they let me keep it long enough to try to camp in the snow with it. I don't have any way to go snow camping anytime soon. So I hope I can keep it long enough to try snow camping in it. For me, having different camping options, I think it's a lot of fun because I don't have to take the rooftop tent if I'm going by myself. I could throw a swag in. Or when I have the huge family and we're going to a state park or something, I can bring the Gazelle, or the big camp trailer, stuff like that. So
Yeah,
Uh,
that's me too. I've got the teardrop trailer. I've got the rooftop tent. I've got the Gazelle. Um, I don't have an option really. Well, and I can sleep in the Forerunner. I don't really have that super
yeah.
comfortable option for solo.
Yeah, and that's what this did for me. I have a small backpacking tent that is a tiny bit bigger than this. It says it's for two people, and you'd have to be married to sleep in it or be really close to the person you're sleeping with. So I could do it, but because it's a thin fabric, it doesn't keep the heat in. And now also you have to provide that sleeping pad, sleeping mat, or something. And
Mhm.
I don't know if it's because I'm 41 years old now, but it's hard to find something comfortable. So Brent in the comments says, FYI, you can set that tent up on a cot. And I was going to get there. I brought a cot. I have one that I bought for my son, and I think it's a Coleman brand cot also, or something like Coleman. But it's an XL. It's the biggest normal type cot that you can get. And I brought it with me, set it up, and I put this on top of that cot, and it hung over every edge of it. And so I chose not to sleep on the cot with that one.
Yeah,
Iron Man has their own cots for the singles. They don't have a cot that will fit the double though. So,
well, you just get two cots and stick them side by side.
well, I talked to the guy Iron Man about that, and he's like, "Well, their cots have like these handles in the middle of them or whatever, and
Oh
that would
yeah,
totally be poking you and stuff like that." So, I would like to try it on a cot. I think that would be fun. I don't know how I'll do that one yet. So, Eric says it's a no go for me if you can't sit up. I totally get that. I didn't once I was in it and laying down. I mean, that's all you're doing in it. You're not getting out of if it's pouring down rain, you're not getting out. I mean, you'll get out of the rain in it, but all you're doing is laying down. Oh, and I guess I didn't really answer your question, Ben. You asked about how big it was. So I was telling you I set it up ahead of time and I was laying in there and on my phone, and I felt like it should be 2 inches longer. But once I slept in it, it was it was more than long enough. My feet never felt like they touched the end of it. So I thought that I was going to want 2 more inches. So you would probably be fine in this also because you're 2.5 inches taller than I am or so. So um, you would also probably be fine in this. And it came with this rubber shoe bag, and that is actually it's a three-dimensional bag. It's not just a rubber mat. It has a zipper on the end that faces the tent. It's got a couple toggles to attach to the tent there, and I put both of my shoes in there. And if you were up on a cot, it would hang down, which is kind of clever. But because this was on the ground, I used it. I stepped on it. I kneeled on it, getting in and out of the tent. It was just a nice dry area to get in and out of the tent with it. So um,
yeah.
yeah. And I thought about asking to borrow the two-person cot, but I'm sorry, the two-person swag. But the more I thought about it, if my wife is going camping with me, we probably aren't sleeping in a swag. We're going to be sleeping in something else. She's going to want something taller to change her clothes in. So it's probably going to be the rooftop tent or the Gazelle because our kids, if I'm camping, my wife's probably, and sorry, if my wife is camping also, the kids are probably with us. Swag probably isn't going to be the name of the game for when we do that. So I will say though, the one time a swag would have worked for us is on our Nevada trip. when it was just husbands and wives. That would have been good. But once again, you don't have a way to really, you're laying down in there to change your clothes and all that weirdness. It'd be nice to have an awning with a room or something.
Depending upon where you're camping, though, and who you're with, like if it's just you and your wife, I mean, what's the problem with just like changing right there out in the open? And that's
fine. But like I said, if it's just my wife and me, it's probably not going to happen. Our kids are going to be with us. We don't get away from kids to go camping, unfortunately.
Yep, that doesn't happen very often for us either.
It looks like I've got Josh in the comments. He says that we need to go camping up in the Cooch before summer fully hits. So I'm on board. He says Christian needs to go camping. So yeah. Hey, look, there's Bubba in the comments. He says that's an awesome swag tent.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. It was a great tent. I appreciate Iron Man letting me borrow it. I'm gonna test it out some more and we'll find out. We're gonna put it through the paces. So it's a great tent.
Hey, but Bubba, how tall are you? Because you have a 2-man, right?
Travis says one of their swags is on my list after my trailer gets here and I sell the rooftop tent. So yeah. It's just like I was saying, it's nice to have the options to do the different things. I would have totally taken this on our snow camp trip. I ended up borrowing that shift pod tent from my buddy Christian. So,
and how would you compare this to the shift pod and the you have a 4-door, or you have the 8-man Gazelle, right?
Yes. Yeah.
How would you compare the 4 or the 3?
So the shift pod and the Gazelle are really similar. The Gazelle is just like a 1-room version of the 2-room version of the Gazelle that I have. I love how dark the shift pod is inside. It was amazing. The shift pod is obscenely expensive. I borrowed it from a buddy. He got it at a discount because it was had a flaw with it. So I probably will never in my life own a shift pod. And then the shift pod, the one I borrowed, was a very small one. It barely fit the air mattress that I was on. So I think it was I think it was a queen size air mattress, but so in other words, it's probably a 6-foot by 6-foot tent on the inside of the shift pod, where the Gazelle is, the Gazelle I have, I believe, is 8 by 8 times 2.
Yeah, because the Gazelle's 8 by 8. My T4.
Yeah. So Bubba says that he's 6'1" and he fits fine in the single swag, and he says he uses the Iron Man cot when he goes gold.
Oh, he's a tiny
vacation.
Never mind.
So yeah. Maybe I need to find someone with an Iron Man cot so I can try that setup. The cot that I own just didn't work with this Iron Man tent because it hung over all the sides. It was, I put it on there and then I climbed in it and it like rocked around, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's going to be like a San Francisco earthquake in here when I'm rolling around in my sleep. I'm going to fall out. So yeah. But honestly, with it on the ground and how nice and thick the mattress was inside of it, it was super comfortable. And all I did, I made sure that there was no rocks, pine cones, or sticks on the ground. I didn't do anything else to police the ground to make sure it was nice and soft for me. So yeah.
Oh, and you should be doing that no matter what if you're on the ground camping, right?
Yeah, but like some people might groom the ground even more than that. I've heard of people bringing rakes and things like that. So Bubba says he's got a that works with that swag that's coming out. So
sweet. Yeah, I've really considered bringing a rake to prepare a camping spot. There's been so many times I've woken up and I just find that rock and it's always right under me. Like you leave one rock there and it gets you.
Yep. And I mean, I did work pretty hard the day before, goofing off with the training and stuff like that. Or I should say the day of, that I slept in it that night. But honestly, I do that every time I'm camping, and I sleep like crap. My first night of camping is just terrible. And second and third nights usually aren't that much better. So super happy with it. Loved the pod. So Brent says the shift pod is like an ice fishing tent. And he's saying that there's another company that makes thermal versions of them, and he says he has one. So
Huh.
yeah, nice. Yeah, so I guess to finish that part of the conversation, the shift pod I don't think I would ever own. The Gazelle, I love my Gazelle. I wish I could have gotten 2 4-person Gazelles instead of 1 8-person Gazelle. That way I could just use my Gazelle as a ground tent, and only bring one of the 4-person ones instead of the one I have. Because when you set it up, it's 8 feet by 16 feet. It's huge.
Yeah.
But it sets up so fast. It's so easy. My family loves it. My wife loves it. It's good for the
I
kids.
had so many people come to me about mine at family camp because I set mine up so quickly. They're like, you just got here, like, because I didn't mention that I had jury duty on Friday. I was supposed to leave. I was going to leave at like noon.
Yeah.
So I was there at 2 and we could start, so I could help get everything set up. I didn't get out of jury duty till like 4 o'clock. I didn't get.
Oh my goodness.
7.
Ugh.
Yeah, and it's funny. It was the first jury duty.
Guilty. Get me out.
I can't.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
It was the first jury duty of for this. So it was a city one. It was the first jury duty for the city since COVID started.
Oh my goodness.
And I'd been set for April, and they canceled all 4 dates, and then they had 2 for May, and they canceled the first one, and I was like, oh, they'll cancel the second one. And I got notification for it Thursday night. I'm like, oh damn.
That sucks.
Yeah. Oh well.
Well, good job doing your civic duty. So I really like it. I'm glad that I finally got to try one. I'm definitely want to try it some more. Yes, it's cramped inside, but the idea is that it's quick and easy, and everything's going to have its drawbacks. I mean, the Gazelle tents are huge when you pack them up also. They just are. Rooftop tents weigh 120 pounds, and they have to go on top of your rig unless you've got a trailer. I mean, it's just the way it is. Ground tents are thin. They don't hold heat. They let lots of sunlight through them.
Yeah, my Gazelle, I have to strap to the roof if it's all of us.
Yeah, you can say, well, ground tents are cheap. Well, they can be, or you can spend more than Gazelle money on a regular ground tent. Also, you can buy some crazy expensive, and that's still only a 3-season tent, where like a shift pod could be 4-season. I'm not sure. I'd be curious what the swag would do in a snowing condition. Like, I think I'd still, if it was snowing, I'd probably want it underneath a awning or something, or at least under a tree. So
yeah. Or
I'm not sure if I'd want snow to build up on it.
Yeah.
So
I think it find snow building up on top of it, but I'd be worried about your ventilation staying open and all that if it snowed a lot.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if it piled up around the ends of it. So, well, that's what I did. So yeah, I've got a readiness group that I'm doing. Did some gun training, some camping, and birthday party stuff this weekend. So yeah, it was a good weekend.
That's good, man. I'm glad you had a fun time and got to use that Gazelle. I'm jealous. I'm not. Now I want to try yours, but I get to see you.
Yeah, well, you're coming. Yeah, you're coming in just like
2 weeks,
3 weeks, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so stoked, dude. This will be the first time I
haven't told my new company I need that day off yet. I actually just wrote it on a note tonight. I need to turn that into them tomorrow. So,
well, push comes to shove. What time do you normally get off? Well, you don't know.
Well, I don't know. So, well, technically, I work from 7 to 3:30 with this new job, but like I was telling you before the show, my job tomorrow is over an hour from my house, so
yeah,
I'm not going to be home till like 5 o'clock. So,
well,
we'll figure it out.
If anything, I can hang out with the wife and kids.
and a dog can eat your face.
There we go. Perfect. Just what I
Yeah.
need.
Yep.
Go stop
All
my
right,
cold.
man. Yeah. Well, yeah. So it was a good trip. It sounds like you had a good time with your trail life. I need to look those guys up too. So
Yeah, I just sent you
Yeah.
some information.
okay. Well, thank you everyone who's listening to us weekly. We still got a lot of people listening in the comments this late in the game, so love it. Make sure you're sharing us with your friends, telling your neighbors about us. If you're in a prepper group, tell those guys too. We really appreciate you. Make sure you're sharing us to them. Check out our Facebook pages, our YouTube. Click the bells, the thumbs up, the likes, whatever. Make sure you're commenting on stuff too. It helps with the engagement. So make sure you're sharing us with your friends and helping us grow. And God bless America.
Oh, I should hit that button, right?
Yeah, you could.
Okay.
Don't forget to visit Patriot Patch and join the Patch of the Month Club. Check out our Gaia affiliate link for up to 40% off. Also, don't forget to head over to Warren Medical Gear Outfitters and Colby Valve to see all their great gear. We're a proud part of the Firearms Radio Network. Got a comment or question? Send it to us through our webpage at firearmsradio.net or through our social media channels by searching for Off-Road Podcast. Also, you can listen to us live at overlandradio.com Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. When off-road, please remember to have fun, tread lightly, be safe, and courteous. Thanks for listening.
And for those who still are just hanging on, next week we're talking soft rotors.